Welcome to the podcast that questions everything, from conspiracies to philosophy, from science to religion. We will be looking at the construct of the illusion, and as always, we will question everything. Hello and welcome to Everything's Illusion, a podcast where we question everything. I'm here once again with the bearded master of sci-fi, Mr. Greg Andrew. How you doing, Greg?
I am very well, and hello to everyone out there in podcast land. As you can hear by my voice, I am trying to G myself up, because me and Rob have had a long day doing different things and we're very tired, but we're here pushing through for you guys. Don't forget that.
That was kind of optimistic and kind of upbeat to start a podcast, Greg.
That's the only way I'm going to... Hey, guys!
I feel like shit, but here, for you... I've pushed on through.
Come on, let's do this.
Right, so on today's podcast, we have, we're looking at the flat earth, Tyson DeGrasse and Bob. We're looking at the idea that the moon is fake. Yes, good conspiracy. We'll have a wee look at the RooshV motherfucker, and a couple other things. So let's hit this bad boy with a stick.
Cool.
So,
you want to start us off in the flat earth then, dude? Right,
flat earth. The earth is flat. Right, Neil Tyson DeGrasse, who is a physicist. I like to look at Neil deGrasse Tyson as a popular day physicist. He's the guy, the go-to stooge, if you like, for popular physics. Him and, what's the other guy? Hingmate
Brian Cox.
Yes, these two guys are like the popular go-to guys, the stooges of popular physics. Now, obviously, they're both clever guys. They both have PhDs, etc., etc. Now, I understand what science is, but from what I comprehend of science, i.e. limited mathematics, it's still a faith-based, for me, it's faith-based, because I can't work out that math. It's so far above me. Now, I studied 2 years at university, mathematics, as a part of a mechanical engineering degree, and that shit's above me. Some of the things that they talk about. Now, for instance, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he categorically stated that the Earth is more pear-shaped than spherical.
Yep.
Right, so it bulges out of the centre. It flattens at the bottom due to the weight of the landmass and the ice, and it's like a sort of pear tip at the top. Yeah, every satellite image that we've ever seen, or every image that we've been led to believe was shot from outer space looking back on the blue dot, is a perfect sphere. So either the images were doctored, or his math and physics is wrong. Yet it's the same guy that's saying to Bob, B-O-B, that he's wrong, that the Earth is in fact not flat, it is not flying through space on the back of a tortoise held up by elephants. It is a sphere, but yet he's contradicting himself, and the new model that's put forward by NASA, that it bulges and it's like a pear. So I'm confused.
Right, so my reading of it is, well, we'll come back to kind of the flat Earth and that whole kind of.
No. We kind of just come back to it. I've got some good things coming up right now.
Right, well, I was just going to say, right. So, see when you say pear.
Yes.
Do you mean like an actual physical, the fruit of a pear?
Yes.
So I think that might be misleading what he's saying then, because I don't think he says it's a pear. I think he means the top isn't as round as the bottom, and at the bottom it bulges out a bit, and so it wouldn't be an actual pear shape, but mathematically the terminology would be a pear-shaped Earth.
See, where you're getting a wee bit confused, Greg, is, sorry, but where you're getting a bit confused is, this is science. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 plus 4 equals 8. It's no 8.2, it's no 9, it's no 7. 2 plus 2 is 4. So, when a prominent guy with multiple PhDs in astrophysics states that it's pear-shaped, and the reason it's pear-shaped is it bulges out in the centre because we're spinning through, it's a 3-dimensional space, and we're spinning through space, and the therefore, this, I think it's centripetal force, centrifugal, but centripetal force that pushes it out at the equator, so it bulges, and then there's that much weight at one end, which is the south pole, and that weight keeps it a bit flat. So the top is just like a normal sphere top, but the bottom, it bulges at the side and it's flat at the bottom, so it looks like a kind of, not like a real tall pear, but like a kind of wee fat squash stubby pear. Aye. Now this is his description. Now, right, so that's that thing. Now the Earth
so with that description, we are disqualifying the fact that it doesn't look like an actual pear, the fruit, but its dimensions are like a squashed down pear. Aye. Right. Okay. Continue.
Aye. So it doesn't look like a fruit. It doesn't look like a stem and stuff. So, but the interesting, the interesting,
as a pear.
Aye, but the interesting thing about that is, he used the word pear.
Yeah, I'm not.
Interesting thing about that in the Quran, they state the Earth is the shape of an egg. Right.
Well, again, that's.
And here's kind of prominent physicist saying the Earth is the shape of a pear.
Yep.
Now, the interesting thing for me with regards to the flat Earth now, there's a couple of things. Now, using physics, you can say the Earth is not flat. Yep. The Earth is a sphere. But also using physics, you can say that the Earth is flat, and it's not a sphere. For instance, in the 1700s, when they developed a fantastic mathematical and scientific way to verify the Earth's curvature, they took a distance. So I'm in, say, Glasgow, and then I go to Port Glasgow. So in Glasgow I put a stick that's 1 metre tall, and then in Port Glasgow I put a stick that's 1 metre tall, and I measure the length of the shadow and the angle of the shadow, and then I measure the length of the shadow and the angle of the shadow, and then from these two measurements I can see the difference, and from the difference I can then work out the curvature. And from the curvature you can surmise that the Earth is in fact a sphere. It must have curvature for the shadows to have changed. But yet, a lot of the flat earthers believe that the Sun is in fact a lot smaller in diameter. It's a lot closer in relevance to Earth, and therefore with their numbers you get the exact same math, and therefore they prove that the Sun is smaller and just above us, and we say, well, it's actually bigger and further away. But it's the same math that gives you the same numbers. And one says that the Earth is curved, and the other one says, well, it's flat. Now, the flat earthers, they say that we are accelerating up the way on a flat disk, going at 10 metres per second up the way, accelerating up the way. The Sun is like a spotlight and not a candle. Yeah. And it moves around the disk like a spotlight, hence why you get the darkness, the light in different time zones. So the thing for me, and the whole idea of questioning everything, is flying on a plane. I've never seen the curvature. And I'm not saying that the Earth is a flat or a sphere. I'm just saying with my eyes and my physical senses and my understanding of the world, if I never read things, just like most people through history, the Chinese up until the 1700s, I would have believed that the Earth is indeed flat from my own observations.
From a historical point of view, we were kind of informed as young children that
the Earth is a sphere.
Christopher Columbus sailed to find a new trade route to India.
And we know that's that part.
That's how he found America.
That part's true, but that's about all that's true in that story.
But that Christopher Columbus tried to find a new route to India.
Yeah.
And ended up in America.
Yep.
I think I've stated it. But the thought was, and we were told that he felt the Earth was flat and he was trying to find his way around, which we know is not true of that story. To say the Chinese felt that the Earth was flat up to the 1700s is also cancelled out with the idea that somebody like Pythagoras in ancient times and Aristotle in 4th century and 6th century BC, these two guys were theorising that the Earth was a sphere. I mean, the idea that the Earth's flat, I think, there's a wee bit of kind of anti-science that comes from a kind of renaissance of religion and the kind of Middle Ages, you know what I mean? They've repressed that. Even then, it's kind of case people now, scholars are looking at these maps, and through their interpretation of these maps, the ancients and the medieval times, they felt the world was a sphere, a circle, a spheric shape to go round.
Again,
they weren't saying the Earth's flat and then that's why our maps are flat. And that's
but
why
you cannot generalise the entire Earth and every culture and say they thought in medieval or back in the day that the Earth was, when we know that the most advanced technological country in the world for the biggest part of civilization was China. They invented everything for a compass to fucking spaghetti, the wheelbarrow, fire. When we were fucking cleaving people with big swords, they were fucking shooting folk with gunpowder. It wasn't until the 1700s when our science and we started to invade them that they started to change their calendar. They started to believe that the Earth wasn't flat.
Right, but so their science is the flat Earth science about the sun being a lot closer.
Well, I don't know what their science is, to be fair.
I mean,
but can I just bring up one point that you brought up there about Christopher Columbus? Now, science and acknowledged science and the accepted doctrine based on science states that he was the first person to discover America, when in fact alternative or fringe or pseudoscience, or actually real science that just doesn't get the tick mark of popular main day folk who are not afraid to think, would see that the Egyptians, obviously their cocaine, etc., they must have travelled to across the Atlantic. The Vikings, there's a Viking village in North America. The Scots, it's encoded in the Roslin Chapel, went to fucking North America. The Phoenicians, the great Mediterranean fucking navigators and sailors that had maps all over fucking Mediterranean and Europe, that the fucking Mongols got their maps for. The Mali, the West African fucking Mali, the most advanced civilization in the 1400s, West African, they fucking, it's in their papers that they left to go across the Atlantic. So all these motherfuckers done it before Columbus, and recently there was 2 cats that rowed across the Atlantic in a kayak, and yet we're saying that these advanced civilizations that had built massive mega structures that had maths and science and charted the stars and music and culture and written language and were fantastic sailors, and like we know for a fact that the Egyptians took like 50-ton blocks down the Nile from one part to another part because the rock wasn't quarried there, it was quarried somewhere else, so they transported it via the river. Now if they could transport 50-ton blocks, they had the ability to create really sophisticated weight-bearing boats, but yet they couldn't cross the Atlantic when 2 motherfuckers done it in a kayak. So what I'm saying with that and that example is science is always has an agenda and a perspective, unfortunately, today, because science today is funded by, just like the media, just like politics, science is funded by our corporate overlords. That's why there's loads of research into particular things and no research into other things. So when it comes to things like the sphere, the flat Earth. Now, I don't believe in flat Earth. I'm just questioning it. That's the thing. But there seems to be so much information where people just believe these popular scientists and they don't question anything because it's science. But the whole thing about science, it should be, you've got a theory, I do an experiment, it equates, I repeat it, and then that's a scientific fact for a short period of time until I come up with a better theory, refine it, I come up with a better experiment, and that marries together, and now I've got a new science fact. Like the atom, it used to be the size of fucking a bowling ball, it looked like this, it looked like that, now that model's completely changed, it now looks like this, it looks like that. Science is a progressive thing, but a lot of people just get stuck in the mud. Oh, it's science, he's a scientist. It's like, bullshit. The real scientists question everything. They're continuously, they're kids that got to adulthood with their curiosity intact. They don't just fucking shut shit down because, that's no science. And I've been twiddling people with that all week due to Bob and Tyson.
Well, I think the thing is, the idea of, I'm not looking at a scientific point of view, because I've seen Brian Cox on the telly and a zero gravity experiments and stuff like that, and the experiment that was shown on the TV was how dust and dirt particles in zero gravity start to collate into this, start to break into each other and join together, and they start moving in certain ways. And obviously there's math and there's physics behind all that, and I'm the same as you, dude. I can name maths and those big numbers are fucking beyond me. But he's showing simply, and that's what these guys do really well, they kind of try and break it down as little as they can. They show how dust particles in zero gravity come together, right? So from that they make extrapolations and they try and work out how the solar system came together, and from that they say this is how the Earth became spherical or pear-shaped. The idea of a flat Earth, if you try and look into it, is not, I think it could be broken down, isn't really a scientific deconstruction of, well, it used to be flat, now it's round. I think that it's a historical look back, and I think historians are really good at the moment, and have been for the last, 100 years, looking back and finding evidence of when this flat Earth theory started coming in. If we're going back as far as the Romans and the Greeks, who are theorising and doing calculations, Pythagoras and Aristotle, and they're working out that the Earth is spherical, and this is how, they're working out to their lengths how wide the Earth is, and in modern terms we can say, that's compared to a metre, they're very, very close to working out these maths. And these are really smart geniuses who worked all this stuff out 7,000 years ago. Sorry, 7,000 years ago. So, like, if you look at the scholarship of it all, the flat Earth idea pops up and starts coming into play around the 17th century, when scholars are looking back at medieval times and beyond that, and they're seeing these old maps, and they're theorising that, they must have thought the Earth was flat because we are the Renaissance, we are these new scientists are coming into play, and they're the Dark Ages, and they're dismissing it. But these had come through kind of an ignorance and a misguided notion of the religious groups at the time, especially like the rise of Catholicism. They must have thought the Earth was flat, but they didn't. They felt they along with the Romans and the Greeks before them felt that the Earth was round. I think even in early Muslim texts, I think there's a couple of great programmes online at the moment in BBC about how the early Islamic movement was very scientific and was very all about medicine, and had made great leaps, especially in astronomy. Until
the Genghis Khan and his mob,
you know what I mean? So it's
set them back a while.
It's an idea that, and I think the science is there to prove that the Earth is circular. And then when we look at,
the Quran states that it's the shape of an egg. So,
well, again, that's very pear-shaped. You know what I mean? That's. But an egg's not flat.
Yeah, but it does have that kind of bulge and.
Yeah, the way that they're saying. So, I mean,
if you ask 99% of people, they would 100 folk, 99% will say a sphere. One will say flat. Nobody's going to say an egg. Nobody's going to say a pair. But yet, these people that can, the big debate that's happening at the minute, B.O.B. versus Tyson, one says it's flat, and the other one says it's a sphere. Well, that's wrong. One says it's flat, and the other one says it's a squashed pair. Now, that's one of the things, again, that's been getting my back up. It's people are quoting this guy saying, oh, fucking the earth is round, for fuck's sake, for fuck's sake, for fuck's sake. Well, the guy that you're quoting says it's no round. The guy that you're quoting it says. Now, an interesting thing as well as dimensions. No, so like a circle is 2D,
yep.
A sphere is 3D. Now, in today, in modern science, there's recognised to be 10 or 11, depending on the science kind of theory, but there's thing to be 10 or 11 dimensions. So obviously 1, 2 and 3 everybody knows. The fourth dimension is time. The fifth dimension is slightly different from our own, and it's similar. According to the superstring theory, the fifth and sixth dimensions are where the notion of possible worlds arise. If we could see on through to the fifth dimension, we would see a world slightly different from our own that would give us a means of measuring similarity and differences between our world and other possible ones. In the sixth, we would see a plane of possible worlds where we could compare and position all the possible universes that start with the same initial conditions as this one, i.e. the Big Bang Theory.
Yep.
In theory, it could master the fifth and sixth dimensions. You could travel back in time or go into the future. In the seventh dimension, you have access to possible worlds that start with different initial conditions, whereas in the fifth and sixth, the initial conditions were the same, and therefore the actions were slightly different. But everything is different from the very beginning in the seventh. And the eighth dimension again gives us a plane of such possible universal histories. Each wish begins with different initial conditions and branches out indefinitely or infinitely. In the ninth dimension, we compare all the possible universe histories, starting with all the different possible laws of physics and the initial conditions. In the 10th and final dimension, we arrive at the point in which everything possible and imaginable is covered. Beyond this, nothing can be imagined by us lowly mortals, which makes it a natural limitation of what we can conceive in terms of dimensions. Now, two things arises from this. The first thing is that in the 9th and the 10th dimensions, a flat earth is possible. In fact, from the 7th, 5th and 6th, from the 7th dimension, you access possible worlds that start with a different initial conditions. So within the superstring theory, which is a scientific theory, from the 7th dimension, we operate within the 4th dimension that we're physically aware of. 1, 2, 3, they're physical, X, Y, Z, plus time, 4th dimension. But from the 7th dimension to the 10th dimension, within the theory of superstring, a flat earth is very possible and, in fact, is real, because in one of your main man, Henry Cox, and his 12 monkey theory, he talks about the whole idea that everything that you can ever think of has actually already happened, because that's the whole idea of the 10th dimension. So science is actually stating that there is a flat earth. And you can argue it using science. You know, another argument for the fact that there is a flat earth is the idea of relativity. Now, the idea of relativity is relative to the observer. So if I was travelling at the speed of light, the earth relative to me and relative to my observation would be almost flat. So therefore, it would be a flat earth. So obviously it's not in the context of, like, the true context of what these people, flat earthers, they believe the earth is actually flat, like a pancake flat, and we're riding a plate.
Well, do you know some of them, like, it's like a plate with a hump in the middle, is that no?
Aye, but the fact of the matter is, using science, you can argue that, well, I think you can argue. I'm sure some clever folk out there will disagree and fix us, aye.
Using theoretical physics and
Well, everything's theoretical physics.
No, I'm just saying.
There's no such thing as a fact in physics, really, because everything's a theory that will be surpassed, that will be passed as soon as it becomes redundant. That's the whole point. It's not like a religion or where again God is God and this is the word of the law. No, it's a continuous progression.
Yeah.
So, aye. So should we move on to the fact that the moon is the moon is fake?
This is once again this is the flat Earth we both discussed, and so this will be a good talking point. But I'm all ears about. Well, how does the moon fit into flat Earth just before? Is that just another flat disc in the sky?
Well, I think with the stuff about the idea that the moon is fake, it doesn't fit into the idea that the Earth is flat. For this kind of craziness, or next level moon conspiracy, you need the Earth to be a sphere. And the standard kind of, we are a solar system, we're spiralling a 3-dimensional space round, 4th-dimensional, 10-dimensional space, round the sun, spiralling through our solar system, with a pivot point to the centre of our galaxy. Aye. So
the moon isn't real.
Aye, so some of the ideas that the moon is man-made, but the moon is artificial. So one of the sort of key things which got a lot of attention was the NASA in 1969. As we've concluded, you can check this out in our podcast. It's number 1. We talk about the moon landings. Did we go? And we put, me and the bearded master of sci-fi, Mr. Greg Andrew, put forth some very convincing arguments back and forth for and against, and we conclude. Well, listen to it and you can conclude. But just say that Neil Armstrong did go to the moon, and the boys did go to the moon in 1969, the Apollo 12. They sent a shockwave, a small explosion to measure the seismic waves, and as a part of the research that they were doing, and the vibrations that they recorded, the seismic phenomena that came from the small blast, rang out for 60 minutes. They were expecting it just to last, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, just a dong.
Yep.
It rang out for 60 minutes. NASA astronaut Neil Armstrong described the moon as ringing like a bell. And this is where the whole kind of theory of the Earth must be hollow. This is the initial kind of start point of 1969. People looking at this whole idea that the Earth is in fact hollow. So some things that add on to that is the math. The fact that the moon, if the moon wasn't there, life on Earth wouldn't happen. It slows the cycle of the Earth down, and it gives the cycle of the Earth balance. And it's that balance, that moon's effect on tidal drag, our body, 80% water, etc., that it's like a continuous perfect balance. Now, compared to any other moon or any other planet that we've ever recorded, observed, etc., no other moon has the mathematical synchronicities or perfection that our moon has in relation to our Earth. Obviously it's a big universe and we've not seen everything yet, but for all the observed, our moon is very unique and very different. It's very odd compared to the other moons, even the moons in our solar system. Things like the size, the size of the moon is 400 times smaller diameter-wise than the size of the Earth, and the distance between the Earth and the Sun, that perfect 108 times the diameter of the Sun for the distance, and because of the 400 and exactly 400 is hence why we get eclipse and why the eclipses look so goddamn fucking awesome. And some of the arguments for folk like Crow 777, a guy who believes that the moon is a hologram, he believes that the eclipse is like a software reset. But I'm just going to call up I thought I had it up. It's called there I have it. There's a fantastic website, and all these links a lot of the links will be on the podcast. It's Who Built the Moon, and they have an incredible amount of crazy information about the fact that the moon just doesn't fit, and they go through the orbit, all the different planets that have moons, the seasons, how the Earth affects. They go on to talk about the oceans. They go on to talk about how the moon was made and key kind of possibilities. And then they explain with the best science that they've got why they're so sure about why the moon was made by an advanced alien kind of what you call it,
race,
an alien race, and that. And one of the key things that they're trying to say is, if you were an advanced alien civilization and you had a sort of factory laboratory where you were going to be training mini gods, or you were going to be training humans, a new genetically modified species to be creators, or whatever, you could create a time machine, just like a pyramid, a time machine, which travels through time. It's that solid, it's that cyclical, that when the inhabitants of the island or the inhabitants of the earth get intelligent enough, they'll be able to work out and start to decipher things like math and science just from the cycles of the moon. And the moon is one of the key things which gives us things like the measurement of the foot, like the foot. It gives us pi. It gives us, you see, you can work out all these kind of things from, and that's because of these precise numbers like the 400th, and the special relationships and the exactness of its cycles. And he goes on and he talks about loads of stuff, like most of these kind of crazy conspiracy websites. The guy talks about a lot of things, and one of the things that's quite interesting, he talks about the relationship of the square and the circle, and the square and the circle is basically one of the keys to all. It comes up and up and up and up again and again and again and again, because the relationship between the square and the circle, you can work out pi. And from the pi is one of the numbers that's kind of like, it's at the core of, again, science. It's at the core of just like mathematical enigma. Aye. I kind of lose myself when I get into this shit.
Oh, I mean, let's talk about this for a wee second. So, let's theorise. I'll give 5 theories of the moon, right? Right. So, theory 1, the moon, billions of years possibly ago, was part of the Earth. There was a great collision with a massive asteroid. It broke away from the Earth, kept in orbit, and then over those billion years has came into this symbiotic relationship that it's got at the moment. Theory 2, the moon was like a massive asteroid or other planet that was formed at the same time as the solar system, came into Earth's gravitational pull, and from then on has circulated and has become this dead planet. Or it was at the same time as the Earth formed, that was the larger mass, and it took some of the smaller mass and became a planet itself and a satellite of the bigger planet. It could also be an alien spaceship. that's flown in, and it was one of those living spaceships that you get, and it's all died up, and the inhabitants last ejected onto Earth when it became habitable. Kind of Noah's Ark, like in the film District 9, something like that. Or it's the projection that guy says it's a big HD projection. The relationship between the Earth and the Moon for me is the fact that we live...
Pardon me.
Bless you, sir. Is the fact that we live in this very specific time period. That the Moon has to be that way. And it has to be at that distance for the tidal waves and for life to be on this planet. Because if it's too far away, it's harder for life to exist. Too close, it's harder for life to exist. You know what I mean? We take a lot of things for granted, I think, and sometimes these theories can come straight out of that unappreciation of time. The amount of time it takes for something like the Moon and the Earth to come into this relationship. We also know that the Moon isn't exactly staying in the same place. It's moving further away from us every year. We talked about this in the 1969 Earth to Moon landings hoax that we talked about in the first episode. They've put mirrors that you can shoot lasers off of. We kind of talked about that for a wee bit. I concluded that my feelings were that that's actually a happening thing, and that's why we can measure that distance. The Moon is... I don't think it's... If the guys are saying on their website, the Moon's the only moon like that in the solar system, I'm pretty sure there will be many, many dead rocks and asteroids, and there possibly... I don't know about all the moons of Mars. We know there's probably 20 odd moons in Saturn, maybe even more. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we can see the biggest and brightest when we look through telescopes, even small telescopes like the one I've got. I can see 4 or 5 moons of a night if they're in alignment. But we even know that sorry, I'm talking about Jupiter there, but Saturn within its rings has got loads of different moons that have all this different geology and chemistry and physics going on in them. You know, just to say that, that's a dead moon, so that can't be that. I think, for me, doesn't kind of...
Aye, so the our moon is the largest moon in our solar system relative to the size of the planet.
Right.
Right, so it's actually that big. It could be considered a binary planetary system, because like it actually has so much weight or mass bearing or effect on our planet, whereas there's no other moon system in our solar system that actually affects its host, or affects its host to the extent of our moon. Our moon is almost a third the size of the Earth. The orbit, so I'll just read this wee bit here. It was originally so close to the Earth that its gravitational influence gradually slowed down the rate of the spin of the Earth. So there's loads of... I'm trying to skim through a whole fucking page of shite, but another interesting thing that's from a science kind of perspective is the original idea was that from a scientific... and the recognised scientific understanding how the moon was created was basically it was a collision.
Yep.
Earth collided with a hypothetical Mars-sized planet called Theia early in its existence, and the resulting smash-up produced a disk of magma orbiting our planet that later coalesced to form the moon. Now, one of the things which is challenging that particular theory is the geochemists and geologists that have been looking at moon rocks and the composition of the moon's mineral structures and elemental structures, and what they've found is loads of titanium. And if you type in titanium and moon, you'll find loads of articles on the fact that we'll be going to the moon to fucking basically, it's very valuable in titanium, we're going to get titanium ore, there'll be a bonanza, etc. But nobody's asking, how the fuck did titanium get there? Because that doesn't fit in with the science of how we think the Earth and the moon, etc., how it came together. So there's a guy called in today in Nature Geoscience, geochemist led by Junjun Zhang, University of Chicago, and his colleagues in Switzerland looked at a titanium isotope in 24 separate samples of lunar rock and soil. The proportions of 50 Ti to 47 Ti is another good indicator of where a sample came from Earth, and just as with oxygen, the researchers found that the moon's proportion was effectively the same as Earth's and different from elsewhere in the solar system. Zhang explains that it's unlikely Earth could have exchanged titanium gas with a magma disk because titanium has a very high boiling point. The oxygen is isotopic composition would be very easily homogenized because oxygen is much more volatile, but we would expect homogenized titanium to be very difficult. So what they're saying is that the impact hypothesis does not explain the moon.
Yep.
And the smoking gun in this, and from a chemist's point of view, is titanium. So science again, and this is beautiful because that's what science is, it's that continuous question. Oh look, we've got this evidence, holy fuck, it just throws out everything that we thought, and instead of taking a tantrum and sticking to it, they throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking for the fucking kind of new theory, a new way to explain with all the data that they now have, including titanium. Now, obviously, it was a fucking alien civilization that created the moon, and that's it. It's answered.
I think we've solved that one. No, dude, well done.
Why, thank you.
Once again, the dynamic duo in solving science. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Do I have a Twitter war?
Hopefully.
But, I mean, again, this is interesting. I think these things we can look at, and some of them are really extreme, and you kind of have to kind of think, right, okay, you believe that the moon is a hologram, and this is your proof, your videos of this, but you believe the moon is a giant spaceship left dead, like the end of fucking Alien.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
Sounds good.
But I think the idea that even the top end scientists will continue to kind of theorise about it, because we know that little about it, we pretend like when we go to school and they're taught in science, this is the moon and this is what happened and blah blah blah. We'll never the kind of truth about it is like people are still theorising about this. People are still trying to work out the science and trying to come up with ideas about how that planetary satellite system body got there, and we still don't know everything about its relationship with the Earth, and as much as we do know, we're just scratching the top. You know what I mean? So it's all good.
That's the other thing which kind of like science. Obviously, I think there's a branch called noetic science, and they're looking at the mind and the inner kind of world. And that's, I think, the next frontier of science, because we, obviously, you need to measure things and all that, and that's one of the reasons why folk can, like, you can measure the physical attributes of, say, meditation.
Yeah.
The heart decreasing and slowing down, the brain waves changing, the stress in the skin, etc., etc. But you can't measure the inner world.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's the individual, the voyeur, the inner astronaut that experiences it, and it's, again, no one knows what happens inside anyone else's head. You know what the structure, what systems have put in place, how how their sensors, the kind of 5 primary sensors, take that information and transmit it to the software that they've installed through social upbringing, through society, through the language that they speak, and then how their brains interpreted that.
Yeah.
Take colour deficiency, for example. Me and you, we look at a red, and we both don't see the same thing.
Yeah, I see it normal.
Well, you think you do, but do you? You know? And it's an interesting, and I think that we science is the same, because they're now starting to say in quantum physics, they're now starting to talk about, they have been talking about for a long time, the observer influences the experiment at the quantum level.
Yeah.
Alright, let's move on.
Cool.
You ready for this?
Yeah, let's put it why they do
it. There was a dude, he was called RooshV.
This fucking asshole.
He seems to be some sort of online pickup artist where he cons young males that have low confidence, and shows them psychological tricks and ways of operating that don't build relationships, but attempt to get the young hopeless into hopefuls and secure women. But a part of his doctrine that has been reported online continuously is that he's made quite a few statements about advocating rape and advocating that he can, if she's come onto your property, then it shouldn't be rape and stuff like this, which is obviously absolutely wrong on so many levels. And I'm led to believe that this weekend is at the 6th.
Yep.
He's doing a worldwide meet-up with guys who have subscribed to his way of thinking, pick-up artists, and that are going to be meeting throughout the world in different locations. And here in Glasgow, we've basically gave him more shit than any other place combined. What's your thoughts on this cat?
Well, first of all, this guy's a fucking dick. But apart from that, he is a manifestation, manufacturer. He is the king of trolls, you know what I mean? The way the internet works, the way people interact these days, he has got to a stage now where he knows how to work that, knows how to push people's buttons to get enough attention to himself that he can sell his books, get stuff through his website, sell his advertising. I don't know if you've ever seen the film Magnolia.
Yep.
Paul Thomas Anderson. And Tom Cruise at the very beginning is it Lord of the Cock and all that stuff. If I can find that online, I'll send it to you and it can be on the website, because it's an absolutely brilliant film. But even within that, this prick thinks that's an educational video. He stopped watching after Tom Cruise finishes his speech, and then it goes into the Tom Cruise character and how he tells all these lies and everything's a facade. What we've seen this week is what's great about the internet and what's totally bad about the internet. He is portrayed through the media as the pro-rape guy. Then you get folk defending him saying, well, I hate him, but he didn't really say that because folk have to try and see the truth within it, which we try and do. So I'm not even going to go into if he said, rape was fine or rape was no. His tactics and his demeanour and the way he is conning people into having this idea that the white male in society, white English-speaking male in society, is the last bastion and is under so much distress, and these things need to be brought in, we need to get back in power, and he's a fucking arsehole of a man. And he was doing this Return of the King's event where he was going to kind of Skype group meetings of guys who were going to come and listen to him tell a talk. Well, probably one of his flunkies for his office who makes too much money for fucking Skyping his pish and doing his online stuff. I've got to come to Glasgow and Cambridge, and we've got to try and bring this ethos over to Britain. And it was brought up brilliantly in one tweet. He tweeted, I've received more threats from Glasgow than anywhere else combined. is it some kind of convict resettlement zone, in reference to Glasgow, to which he was retweeted, I can't wait till you're in Glasgow. I've never saw a cunt stick be kicked to death by a girl wearing fake lubes before. Hashtag bucket list. He is a total troll. And I think a kind of man who's this neo-masculinist that he kind of self-styles himself as. And he's, you know what? He is a con artist making money by influencing young white males or young males. I don't know. Kind of, it might be. I don't know what the demographic is, but he is telling people, no. You need to do this. We need to regain this masculinity. You know what? Fuck that shit. Get on Tinder. Get swiping. Get to the pub. Go to a nightclub. Pick up a bird. And if you're even better, a bird might pick you up.
There was a podcast I was watching. I'll try and find it. I think I subscribed to them, and they were called something like the Nerdy Atheists or something like this. And it's just two guys, and they look like fucking
Us,
Mike Myers, Mike Myers and
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World. They look like two guys from Wayne's World, and they're playing a video with this RooshV guy, and then they're pausing it and breaking it down and taking the piss out it. And the RooshV guy's got some Angry Birds, like the wee statues, and that's what he's using. He's women at a bar, and he's got a wee kind of like guy who's a winged guy of himself, and then he's giving you these sort of like tips. These are obviously his free part of his course, which he sort of hooks the people in. And one of his tips, you go, like they'll always if it's a bar and there's 3 or 4 deep, then you don't go. You go and find another bar. You go and you find it's 1 deep. Now you wait for the girl you're looking for, and you want to, like, if it's just 2 or 4, you can handle that. If it's 1, you can handle that. And he's getting up and he's like, this one will be the cop blocker, and he's pushing towards, like, and he's using these Angry Birds. Yeah. Right, so they stop it there, and then these two guys just rip into that, and then they bring it back, and then he says, you stand behind her, and then you tap her on the shoulder 3 times. And then they pause it, and they're like, 3 times. Remember, guys, you've got to be precise about this, because 4 says too keen, and 2 says not confident enough, and they're just like ripping into this fucking. But the thing is, there is people watching this thinking, that's what I need to do. I need to tap her 3 times, and then he gets into this whole elaborate thing about women at the bar. Women at the bar aren't like guys. They won't take a drink that they've just purchased and walk straight back to their table. They'll wait a few minutes and take a few drinks. This is your opportunity. Allow them to get their money away. Allow them for the transaction to be complete before you give the triple tap. And obviously these guys are just pausing that and just ripping into that. That's it, guys. Allow her to put her wallet or purse away before. Now, if you do it whilst her purse is out, you've fucked up straight away. You've fucked up. You're a fucking loser. And they're just like ripping.
So listen to me. I've got all the tips. Don't go with your instincts. Don't try and be nice. Don't try and start up a friendly conversation. Tap fucking 3 times and then wait a fucking lot.
But that's the purpose of talking about that is the whole idea that there is a lot of guys that don't know how to talk to women. I would have put myself in that bracket as well. I'm more interested in thinking and doing a lot of other things, but obviously you need a good woman in your life. I have a good woman in my life now, but again, for many a year.
Well, I think can we just point out here now, you're talking to founding members of the Irvine Royal Academy, Star Trek Club, X-Files Club and Chess Club. This is the kind of people you are listening to in a podcast.
Yep.
This one here is married with a child. This fella at the other end of this microphone has a lovely flat in Glasgow with a very beautiful young lady. I mean, we've done alright for ourselves.
Oh no, for sure, 100%, aye. But the kind of person that these, if you like, players and how they make their money is young, nerdy-like males that are impressionable, that don't know how to speak to women, and these, if you like, pick-up artists show them these hawk of bullshit fucking stories and ideas. You know, you stand behind her, you wait for the transaction to be complete, you give her 3 steps, and then you go in with your opening, and they give them set openings, and they make them feel as if it's possible, you know. Whereas, again, there's other ways to feel as if it's possible, you know. It's just confidence building, self-belief. But I suppose like anything, there was a famous book out a couple of years ago called The Game, with a pick-up artist called Styles. Now, I read the whole book, and I read the book when I was in South America. And I was in South America travelling about. You would have a book, you would read it, and you'd be at a hostel, and then you would root through the bookshelf to see if there was any books in English, and then you would put your book on the shelf and take that book, and then at the next hostel, when you finish that book, you put that on the shelf, grab the next one, and just by chance, that was the only book that there was that was in English, falling apart, so I read it, and it was interesting from the perspective of it was all about psychological manipulation, essentially. It was all about how to get somebody to, and it wasn't about building a relationship, it wasn't about looking for love, it was about manipulating somebody to do your bidding. And that isn't a relationship. That's no something that's going to go anywhere. And what's his name?
Roosh?
No, Russell.
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand. He was right into that. He was a player for many a year. That was, and like Ken, when he had his hair up as a big, huge kind of like peacock like thing. Ken, he had a big kind of back up was all puffed out. That's called peacocking. It's a style, a technique that they use to stand out for a crowd, kind of like a peacock does. And it's all this kind of bullshit that they feed the people, but they charge them wads of cash. Because a lot of these people are usually quite successful because they're like computer programmers or fucking nerdy motherfuckers that have done well for themselves. And they've totally forgot about women, and they're 30 and they don't know how to speak to women. And they go into these fucking forums looking for just like a manual to picking up kind of women. So a lot of his clientele and a lot of folk in the forums. So I went into this RooshV's forum just to have a look, you know, and like the guy said that it's a war plan, a war plan, and because they were under international attack, and they had 10 rules, and in the rules they had things like no new members will be processed or accepted until the fucking the emergency is over. So basically, so no journalists etc. could get in and can infiltrate their forum. And a lot of the things about the whole idea of it's been, he's now officially said it's cancelled in Glasgow.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a bluff, because that's the whole name of their game. Yeah. It's a psychological manipulation of women.
I mean, even the point is, these Return of Kings meetings, they're all being cancelled now, but he's saying online, I'm not going to stop people meeting up if they want. What was the actual process? Is he just that much of a media whore? He's trying to build up his social media presence in the UK because it's his next step, and this has all been a bullshit just to get folks up. New people who weren't aware that he existed now exist, and these kind of
that's it.
Business.
I never knew he existed.
No, I knew there was cunts in the world.
Aye,
cunts like him.
No, I've been on his Facebook, I've been on his Twitter, I've been on his website, I've read through his forum, we're doing a podcast about him. You know, as they say, any publicity is good publicity, or and so they've obviously got their head screwed on when it comes to that kind of stuff. You know, but the whole advocating rape is fucking wrong in the nth degree. and that shit won't be tolerated.
I'm just reading something on his website here. It's we will have 165 meetings in 43 countries for our International Meetup Day, February 4th, 2016, 8 p.m. Hosts have been instructed to wait at the meeting point from 8 p.m. to 8:20 before moving on to final location. If you arrive at meeting point at 8:21, you will miss the meetup. Arriving on time within the window is absolutely paramount. You know what, pal? Get yourself to fuck. What a lot of pish. What a prick.
But again, that's about establishing his authority.
Oh, exactly. It's you're part of this crew now. You're part of this gang.
And you best be on. That's about establishing authority over them. And it's establishing his authority so that his word is law, so that when he states to them, the new price per month is this, or this new PDF stroke online seminar shit that I'm doing is fucking 900 quid you're going to pay, and they pay. You know, you see it all over the internet at the minute, these kind of gurus of, we've got something new. Well, it's no new, it's just repackaged bullshit, the same as the last shit, but now you've got these 30 folk, 40 folk, 100 folk to pay you fucking 60 quid, 100 quid, 200 quid to listen to it.
Yeah. Although, I must admit, it did, if anything, did bring up the sentence, I've never seen a cunt stick be kicked to death by a girl, so... But I mean, it's just, but then it becomes a whole political thing where it's kind of, should he be banned? Should he not be banned? Should he be able to come? And then it takes on that element, then it becomes the media circus. But I'm sure that's exactly what he fucking wanted. You know what I mean? That's him and his He'll be sitting there fucking wanking himself off, having a great time. You know what I mean? The guy's just... But to be fair, I did say in my tweet, I would have no pleasure in just punching the cunt. You know what I mean? It's just... And you know me, I'm a fucking chilled out, peaceful man.
There is quite a few of the tweets that I read which were very entertaining, and I'd recommend you going to his Twitter and have a read through some of the Scottish tweets. And then again, he's obviously got a lot of fans, so there's a lot of folk there, you know, retorting back, and some of the debates that are going back and forward I thought were absolutely hilarious. The banter, because Scottish banter is very unique.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's just, guy's a fuddoid.
I would just to bring you up on that, I think in the last 3 podcasts that you've been in, Greg, you've stated that I'm a gentle guy, you know, but I
while going on a major rant of violence towards somebody.
I'm a peace man. I'm a lover, but good kiss going in.
Yeah, so all good, man. Right, so that guy's a prick. Let's never let him darken our doors again. And again, get one. I thought all the young kids were just dicking about in World of Warcraft, talking to each other, and fucking, you know what I mean? It's like that scene in Trainspotting where Begbie and Renton go to the nightclub. Begbie's all excited because evolution's getting to a point where there's no longer going to be men and women. We're all just going to be wankers. That's where we're heading, man. None of this bullshit, fucking masculine man. Let's fucking take it back. Take it back, man. Fuck off, pal, you dick. Cool.
If we, that's us an hour. So if we just wrap up, talk about some movies, and then call it a day there.
Yes, if you want so. What have you? I know you've been watching a very specific type of cinema.
I've been watching some Indian action.
So there's been some quality videos posted in the timeline this week, so.
So that's been getting posted on Rob Wallace Media on the Facebook there. So if you want to, you can check that out. It's facebook.com/Rob Wallace Media, and I've got a competition running just now where if you invite folk to that page, that's my media page, my business, You've got a chance to win a motion graphics, a fancy animation for your business, your group, for your friends, whatever. So it's running for the whole of February, and it's free to enter. You just have to invite some motherfuckers to Robolis Media, and you can win. And plus, the Facebook feed is populated with more media-based stuff like Indian cinema. I think it's amazing when you see an Indian action star power slide a horse under a truck. You know, that shit is unreal. I've obviously.
I think it'd be fair to the podcast listeners if we posted one of those in the. Just pick your favourite of the week and then just post that as the.
Oh no! I'll post that in they'll be in the notes on the page, but power sliding a horse, right? That is obviously that's awesome,
yep.
But like bunny hopping a fucking SUV, whilst jumping out, getting onto the bonnet. So a bunny hop is like somehow he's made the car fly through the air. He's jumped onto the bonnet and produced a gun and started shooting motherfuckers. You know, gets back in the car, keeps on driving. They've just discovered, or not just discovered, obviously, they've been using it as long as everybody else, but CGI is getting really big in the kind of sci-fi, kind of action sort of scenes in Indian cinema. But the CGI is just so fucking bad. It's like, and it's not that it's badly done, it's far-fetched. You know, they use it for everything, just the most, like it's as if the laws of gravity didn't apply to the artist using it, you know, just fucking weird shit. And the action sequences go on for like 30 minutes, and they make the Tom Cruise kind of stuff, and what's his name, Sylvester Stallone action kind of stuff just look I don't know, tame. It's like, you can sum it up with a guy with his power sliding a fucking horse. No,
crazy shit, you know, it's awesome.
And then there was a fantasy, an epic fantasy described as the Indian Lord of the Rings. Yeah, and then you read the comments, and people are like, "It's no like Lord of the Rings. It's fucking 3 hours long, and you you don't know what's happening at all at any time ever." It makes no sense.
So it's like The Hobbit then?
The only redeeming feature was the crazy ass fucking military scenes, which were just fucking crazy. And like Indian cinema just seems to be, because like Indian history with the Hinduism and the Vedas, a really rich history that has a lot of kind of almost sci-fi like history. You know, these gods that fought in the skies with flying chariots and flew through kind of like explosive bomb like things at each other, and all these different gods that done different things, and just totally amazing if it's real or the imagination. And then that converts into the cinema, and it's so different from the standard cinema that I usually watch. So it's been fantastic. What have you been watching in terms of TV or cinema? This
week, apart from obviously a deluge of Indian cinema films, I watched The Revenant this week.
You watched the what?
The Revenant.
Oh no, good film.
I must admit, I really enjoyed it. It was possibly one of the best films of last year, I think, or this year so far.
I watched it last year.
Brutal in places. Just goes to show what a body can go through to survive. I don't think it's in the trailer, so I don't think there's a bear attack in it.
Yep.
It obviously goes straight away in the trailer, but in the whole film, absolutely mesmerisingly brutal, which I would assume is how a bear would attack somebody.
Oh, it's a big beast.
The ending would possibly might be a wee bit kind of dubious about, not the actual ending itself, but the part of revenge. There's a big fight near the end that kind of was a bit too for me, but I thought performance-wise, stylistically, the director in Atu, he's got some really nice ideas and how he wants to move his camera, and he takes these big long shots and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed it, loved it. So that's what I've watched. So if anybody can take that.
It was all natural light. There was no...
Yeah, all that stuff.
There was no extra lighting.
Yep.
And had that kind of western feel. You were saying about the big kind of...
Well, again, we could probably have a whole show about...
What did that? I didn't actually understand anything that Tom Hardy said in the entire film. Though.
He did mumble quite a bit, but I thought he was really good on it. I thought the whole idea and the whole relationship between the Inuit tribes, the indigenous tribes in the areas, and how it wasn't just Americans, it was French there and English people, and it was really that time in America's history was really diverse, and it wasn't settled the way it is now. It was very much a rugged landscape, and I think they captured that brilliantly.
That was a time where they were making treaties with the natives and then breaking the treaties and killing them, and genocide was legal.
Yep. But I think that's for another show. So I watched that. So I think DiCaprio might win the Oscar.
Hope he does.
I was speaking to somebody today who said he hoped that it would win for best visual effects as well, because I think the visual effects blend really well, and I think there's probably a lot done out with that, especially for the big long shots. There might be cranes in the road, and you can tell they might have digitally removed stuff or added stuff in. But no, I thought it was great. Trailer wise, film coming out this week, Hail Caesar, new Coen Brothers film. I would ask everybody to go and check that out. Coen Brothers are always a good thing to see. I think that's been about me, dude.
I watched a 1 hour Q&A with, it was an Adobe Q&A with the director of Deadpool and the VFX and editor of Hail Caesar, and both of the films were done on Adobe's Premiere Pro, and the Coen folk had came for Final Cut, and the Deadpool folk had come for Avid, and it was all about how they transitioned over and why they were using Premiere Pro now, and obviously I'm a Premiere Pro video editor and have been for about 8 years now, so I'm just ahead of the curve like fucking everything, motherfucker. But it was really interesting to hear how they worked and how different they were. Like the guy that done Deadpool, the director, they basically
Tim Miller.
So his footage was getting edited a day behind everything that got shot. So by the time he finished the film, he basically had a full rough cut of the entire film. Whereas the Coen brothers, they fucking shoot everything and nothing gets touched. And then one of the brothers goes through it and finds the stuff and rings a bell, and then he gives it. The editor's describing this kind of really set in stone kind of system that they have about ringing bells, and they have their way of doing things. And Adobe, it was obviously a sales thing for Adobe, but it just showing how Adobe can adapt to that. But it was amazing. Like even the director of Deadpool, he was like flabbergasted at listening to the way that the Coen brothers done their stuff, and he's like, I couldn't do that. But it was really insightful for somebody like me, somebody like you, seeing how these huge projects and getting into their mind about how they build these worlds, and how crucial obviously the editor is, but how crucial the systems that the editor uses to make their workflow easier.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely a kind of a subject we can blabber on about for viewers and end. I think there's the way people edit and shoot their stuff, and there is a kind of trend where these kind of newer directors. I know Kevin Smith, the guy did Clerks and coming at Ulysses, he likes to cut like the stuff he shot the last day, then at night when he's no directing, he cuts his stuff, and then it's kind of rough cuts there to show folk the next day instead of just dailies. The Coen brothers are coming from a kind of older generation,
film,
kind of mid-80s for films.
It's shot on film, this...
Yeah, it's shot on film and it's digitally scanned and all that stuff. I think also when you're talking about Premiere, I mean, I piggyback on your expertise and that sort of stuff, so I quite enjoy the interface with Premiere Pro, and how when we're editing stuff, you're able to take that and put into After Effects and then do colour correction or put visual effects in, which I think is a great platform system. The thing I have noticed working within an educational system is the generation that are after this generation, the kids who are 12, 13, 14, they're being brought up on iMovie, and how Final Cut Pro and Final Cut X feel to us to be very childish. The way they're going to be able to use Final Cut Pro the way we use Premiere Pro in the next 10, 15 years. So the more I look at it, when I see the misstep I felt Apple have taken in their Final Cut Pro of the last 2 generations, they could have been totally above the curve. And these young folk who are putting stuff on Vine and YouTube and possibly Snapchat in the future, the way they're going to cut stuff is that more intuitive piecing together the way Final Cut Pro is at the moment. Just a wee thought there, just to end on. So I think
Premiere Pro to me is extremely intuitive.
I think it is as well.
Things like Avid, that's the kind of old style, which is basically based on kind of tape, replicating a tape system in a digital world. And as you say, editing's moved on now.
Yeah.
And there's new tools and new ways to manipulate the footage, and obviously Apple have done a good job.
I just don't think. I thought 2 years ago Final Cut Pro was dead. I thought with X it was dead, but the more I think about it, this generation coming up, the ones that have been brought up over the last 10 years using iMovie for free and then building into Final Cut Pro, they'll be fucking wizards at it. And as you know, knowing your way about a system's half the battle.
No, I think it's the whole battle, because obviously if you've shot your footage, or if you're an editor, you know, the full thing is trying to reduce the bridge between you and the manipulation of the footage, and the tool that allows you to do that the best for you, to reduce that bridge and make it kind of automatically and unconscious, can allow you to play that play that video footage the way that you envision it, easily and intuitively, is the one that's best for you. You know, and Apple have obviously they've done a good job there with the thing. But for me, the seamless kind of world of Adobe, you know, the Photoshop, the After Effects and the Premiere Pro, all interlinking and dynamic linking between them all is kind of beat it. Yep. Kind of whack it with a stick, motherfucker.
Cool. That was good, man.
Cool. So,
there's one thing. GFK and Bigfoot. I forgot. Sorry.
You know,
I'll come back to it.
JFK is in the moon. He's in the middle of the hollow moon.
The middle.
And the Bigfoot, he's on the very edge of the flat earth.
So the two can never meet.
They can never meet.
Fucking hell. Solved it again. There's another one done. Brilliant.
Quality. So, ladies and gentlemen, listening there in podcast land, thanks for listening. We do have very many different aggregators, so iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, etc. If you're listening in any of them, if you could give us a 5-star rating or any kind of rating, a comment, that'd be awesome. Please check us out on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. There is daily updates, pictures, videos, funny comments, and also things to get you thinking about things, and also for you to discuss and fire your comments, etc. So give us a like on the Facebook or the Twitter, get involved, get engaged, and awesomeness. Feel free to click some Google ads, it's always good. And that's awesome. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, Greg. Any final words?
Just thanks for listening, folks, and if Rob keeps up the steady payments that he's been making, I might be back soon. Let's just hope that continues, because I'm not cheap.
That's true.
I've got all the RooshV books I need to buy.
Ebooks. Just download them as a torrent, man.
But right. That was good, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much, people. Enjoy. Everything is an Illusion is brought to you by RobWallaceMedia.com, award-winning media. TheEnergeticMind.com, inspirational, motivational and thought-provoking art. And Health Made Simple. Buy today, change your life forever. healthmadesimple.info. Thank you, and remember, question everything.